You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
Let's go, baby, from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Hello, New Orleans. You're listening to the Sport Coma, your number one podcast on everything Saints and a lot more. And now, here's your host, Big Q and the guys.
Welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys. And we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports family. I'm Big Q, and you're now rocking with the Sports Coma podcast, number 386. That's right, family. Welcome aboard to all our new and established listeners of the show. And if you don't know, we are the number one independent Saints podcast in the land, baby. That's right. Welcome aboard. And on today's show, man, I want to be able to just come to my family here, and we're going to cover the Saints draft, the camp is coming up real soon on the 18th to be exactly, which is the Rooks report, and then the 25th later on that week, the veterans come to camp, and it is mid-July. It's hot as hell outside, and also it means it's time for football, man. Big camp is here, and it's time for your beloved and my beloved black and gold to get it started, to start the first of many practices and the first of many steps toward accomplishing what has been quite elusive to us the last 2 years, and that is a Super Bowl crown. Big things popping, baby. So regardless of whatever we got to do, if we got to push Goodell down and get him out the way and make his referees call the right calls, or make sure our guys who are in position to catch touchdowns in NFC championship games, Dan Arnold, catch the damn ball so we don't have to deal with referees that are blind. That's my stance. A lot of people need to listen to the show, check it out, because we actually gave that up. The emotionalism we got, Rob, we actually donated the game thanks to Dan Arnold dropping touchdown passes. Did we forget that, family? Dropping touchdown passes in the NFC championship game will make you just a spec. You won't get to the Super Bowl that way. You just be a guy watching it, much like many other fans. But we're not going to talk about that too much. What I want to get into today's show is we're going to cover this entire 90-man roster within this program. So if you haven't already, family, hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and also hit the bell for future content if you're not already a subscriber of the show. And that's pretty much what we cover here at the Sports Coma. We love the Saints. We are diehard black and gold people. And if you are too, join us by subscribing. Anyway, let's get into some information here, man, dealing with the full out roster. Now, a lot of people didn't realize, because we're dealing with the signing of a couple of people that happened some time ago. And Rashard Matthews' contract, the particulars, I don't know if people knew the particulars of the Rashard Matthews deal, was just a 1-year deal with about $900,000, which is basically what Rashard Matthews signed to be with the Saints, a 1-year deal, tryout pretty much. And it's my opinion that that's your slot man. Rashard Matthews will take Cameron Meredith's position. But before we even get into that, I'm also going to give Kevon Webster's signing. He signed a 1-year deal worth $805,000. So a lot of people who didn't know those particulars about the contract, that's why I'm giving them to you right now to let you know. Okay, we're going to start pretty much with the offense now, and we're going to get right on into dealing with the offense. Now, we're going to start with the quarterback position, which is quite easy. Quarterback, of course, we got Drew Brees here for another year. We don't know how long it is. Mickey Loomis came out and basically said a couple weeks ago they're comfortable with Drew Brees doing a year-by-year thing. I guess it's okay if they say it's okay, but I prefer to have at least a 2-year deal so we can at least groom somebody behind him if it ain't Teddy Bridgewater. If it's Minnesota Teddy Bridgewater, I'm fine with it. But if it's conservative, scared that somebody's going to hit my leg, Teddy Bridgewater, I don't want that. And many of y'all guys don't want that either. But anyway, let's get into the depth chart. Breeze at the quarterback position, ranked 1. Of course, Teddy Bridgewater is his backup. And our favorite guy, Taysom Hill. Not for the quarterback position, but because of everything else he does, his energy, his infectiousness, everything that Taysom Hill brings is awesome. And he's your third quarterback and probably the most used third quarterback. That's like a special team utility, man. The Saints have stashed they're getting tremendous value with their quarterbacks, let me tell you. Running back position behind the quarterbacks, Alvin Kamara is the top dog and possibly a featured back, more in a featured role. Then, of course, behind him is the battering ram known as Latavius Murray, who's a big guy who just falls forward, gets you 4 yards. I've said on previous podcasts and live streams as well that Latavius Murray will get us at least 7 to 8 rushing touchdowns this year. He's a serious red zone weapon that the Saints will love to use, and just running him by himself or putting a lead or fullback in front of him and letting him run behind somebody else is even more dangerous. Then behind him on the running back roster, we got a Buck Allen, who's known as Javarius Allen, who came over from Baltimore. The Saints signed him to a 4-year deal on bringing him as a north-south runner behind our top 2 people. Then behind him, we got one of my favorite undrafted guys, Devine Zigbo and Matt Days, and of course Dwayne Washington. This is Washington actually probably will move ahead of guys like Matt Days or Devine Zigbo because of his familiarity with the system. But that is where we stand currently. Going to the fullback position is Zach Line, Mike Burton, who are guys that'll fill in. Zach Lyons, of course, the leading guy there. He has competition with Mike Burton, who comes over from Chicago. Going to the tight end position, Jared Cook, the best free agent tight end on the market. The Saints got him for which was a glaring hole in the tight end position. He is a perfect fit for Drew Brees going to bring. He's awesome. Behind him is the ever-present and great blocking tight end that Josh Hill is. Josh Hill I've seen him when I was breaking down film. Josh Hill was a part of many, many great and excellent blocks that freed up running plays. Josh Hill has really took his blocking game to another level. Hopefully, when the Saints inked him, hopefully, Josh Hill can continue adding to it because he was always a pretty good catcher of the ball. He added blocking to his resume. Let's hope that Josh can put it together this year behind Jared Cook. The third tight end position, Alize Mack, one of the 7-round draft picks this year for the New Orleans Saints. Getting him was awesome, and I like the acquisition. Athletic tight end, needs help catching the ball, decent blocking guy, but he's going to get better. More athletic guy. Natural. I mean, you could just see the gifts that Alize Mack have. The Saints really, really did a good job picking that young man up. I'm just waiting to see how he'll blossom. And I'm going to put Garrett Griffin behind Alize Mack because I think Dan Arnold got a lot to prove. Dan Arnold is the final tight end on the board, just because I don't like the hell he dropped the touchdown pass that could have put us in the Super Bowl this year. He dropped a touchdown ball in the NFC Championship. So miss me with all the stuff that we got robbed. If he would have caught it, we would have been in there. We would have won by at least 3. You know, they couldn't have robbed us. They couldn't have. Matter of fact, if he would have called it, they would have made the call. I mean, if fans are butts about it, you know how the NFL feels about us with Goodell at the helm. Anyway, moving on to the offensive line, left tackle position, Terron Armstead, who sits there entrenched. Hopefully he can stay healthy, which he's healthy now. Hope we can get a full season out of him. It'll be the first time in some time. Michael Ola, who's turned out to be a pretty solid back up there. And then you got Ethan Greenridge, who is behind him as well. The other tackle position is Ryan Ramczyk. Behind him is Marshall Newhouse, which I actually like. Ryan Ramczyk is awesome. You know, he's probably in another year or so is going to be your best offensive tackle on the team. You know, Terron Armstead keeps having these nagging injuries. But I love what Ryan Ramczyk brings. You know, so you're looking at Ramczyk there. Behind him is Marshall Newhouse. Hopefully Marshall Newhouse could be the answer for not keep moving Andrus Peat. So for all these guys out here that calling Andrus Peat garbage and saying that he's trash and Andrus Peat can't play and all this kind of foolishness, I'm a big advocate of Andrews Pete because Andrews Pete plays 4 positions. He plays every position except for center. What do you mean by that, Q? When he came in here, they had him playing right tackle. Then he played left tackle. Then when they said, okay, we don't have room for you at the tackles, we're going to play you at right guard. Then they moved him from right guard to left guard. And then all that time while he's learning 4 different positions, when Armstead goes down, Sean Payton shoots him out to left tackle, which is the most important position to guard a quarterback that's right-handed. Blind side is the left tackle. So Andrews Pete did all of this. If left alone to play the guard position where he was placed, the left guard position, to say, for instance, he would have been all-pro. A couple of years ago, he was a borderline all-pro. And when all those other Saints got into the Pro Bowl, he was the one that was left out. So Andrews Pete's comments, think about that before we criticize him. Anyway, behind the rest of those guys, hopefully Marshall Newhouse will stop that switch. You got guys like John Ulrich and Derek Kelly II. Going interior, Andrews Pete, who I just spoke about, Mr. Everything, he's there. Behind him is offensive lineman Ryan Groy, who's an undrafted guy that comes over from Buffalo. Very interesting pickup he was. I think that guy also did a little play. He played with New England as well. So very interesting guard prospect is Groy, a veteran guard on the interior. Then there's, of course, a lot of some of our favorites. Cameron Tom is there. And then, of course, you got guys like Will Clapp. Looking at Larry Warford on the other side, Will Clapp. And of course, you got Cameron Tom. You got Will Clapp. You got Groy. And some of these guys intangible. We also have Nick Eason there as well, who come over from the Minnesota Vikings, who was the guy that was supposed to take the helm and play the center position until they took this guy who was going to work into the center role, Eric McCoy, with the second round pick the Saints had. They moved up, snatched McCoy, who some said was the best center prospect in the draft. The Saints just drafted them a guy who will play the center position for the next 10 years. You got to understand it. It was a really good move. Marcus Henry is also there. So we got a lot of interchangeable people behind McCoy who will probably kick in there. We got Nick Eason, who could play center. We have Will Clapp, who can play center. We have Cameron Tom, who can play center. So the Saints are blessed with offensive linemen who can play multiple positions. Really like that. Okay, let's go to our wide receiver positions, our skill position, which I kind of left that last before we jump to the defensive aspect. Looking at the wide receivers, obviously, it's can't guard Mike, who's going to be the $22 million man, the highest paid receiver in the NFL this year until probably, to somebody renegotiate their contract or something like that. It's that kind of league. But Mike Thomas is at the head of the Saints offense, wide receiver speaking. To Ted Ginn, who's healthy, will complement him. And then in the slot position, my call is the guy I just told you about, who just signed a $900,000 contract a few weeks ago. And I think he is a perfect fit, Mr. Rashard Matthews. People say, no, Q is actually going to be Cameron Meredith. Meredith got to show me something, and everybody else, the Saints and everybody, because I didn't sign Rashard Matthews, the Saints did. And that's a sniping, maybe an indication or indictment on Cameron's ability to satisfy the slot position. So we'll see a really interesting battle there. Now, of course, we just mentioned Cameron Meredith. Then there's Traquan Smith in the mixture. There's Keith Kirkwood. There's Sammy Cobb Jr. There's Emmanuel Butler, LeJarden Humphrey, Deontay Harris, and, of course, there is Chad Hansen, Austin Carr, and let's see here, Cyril Grayson. So that's all of the wide receivers in the wide receiver room that I've all ran down, no particular order. Some of those guys are interchangeable toward the back end of that conversation, and it depends on what need the Saints have. Now, that is the entire offense. Let's switch gears and head to defense next. Looking at the defensive end position, we got Cameron Jordan, Mr. Everything, Mr. All-Molder, Mr. All-Purpose, Mr. Pass Rusher, Mr. Defend the Run, the Balance, the Heart and Soul. One of those heart and soul guys of the defense. If Cam Jordan wasn't on that defense, the Saints that defense is half of itself without Cameron Jordan. That's how important he is to the Saints defense and temperament and attitude and leadership. I can go on and on about how great Cam is, but I'm not. Anyway, behind Cam, we got people like Trey Hendrickson, which is a big question mark because perhaps the Saints will address the veteran pass rusher. That's what I've been saying is a big need for the team. Do we need to get a third pass rusher to go behind to help him. And some guys will say, well, Q, we got Wes Horton. And I know Wes Horton was pretty much a backup defensive lineman. He had 5.5 sacks a couple years ago, playing in a handful of games. He hadn't been able to reproduce that success with Carolina. Perhaps he does it for New Orleans. I don't know. But I'm looking for somebody that can come in that's a little bit more accomplished, that won't cost a lot of money, and perhaps provide that balance to if something happens to Davenport. But so behind Cam, we got Trey Hendrickson, who's healthy. Trey has to stay healthy. He has a motor. He's strong, but this injuries has really been killing him. Carbon Kafusi, one of the biggest defensive linemen I've ever seen, he's behind him. And, of course, I've mentioned Wes Horton. Going to the other side, Marcus Davenport is healthy, and he will be backed up by Mario Edwards Jr., who has the ability to slide inside as well. But for the sake of this conversation, we'll put Edwards as a N. And then behind him, we have unproven commodities such as Geno Grissom. We got Shai Tuttle and guys like that there. It's also Carl Granderson, who a lot of people think will be an excellent addition. That's Porter Galston that a lot of people are thinking about. Even some of them mention Caden Ellis as a possible guy that they can see about moving in the position as a pass rusher. So the Saints have thoughts on different players and what they can bring to the issues, to bring to the Saints to try to complement them or help. We'll see how that all kind of fathoms out as the camp shakes up and gets a little closer. Interior defensive lineman Sheldon Rankins, of course, is out, but behind him is David Onyemata, who will be out for the 1-game suspension. That was garbage to me. He should have just got a cash fine, but that's Goodell heavy-handedness against the Saints organization as usual. Then there's other interior lineman Malcolm Brown signed to the Saints. He's flanking Sheldon Rankins on the other side. Behind him is Big Sylvester Williams, who I think the Saints would really love. He's a veteran defensive tackle, big, heavy guy, big, stout guy. You can't move him. Really good defensive tackle in terms of what he does. It takes more than 2 men to handle Sylvester Williams, and that's something that we really could use is his stoutness as a nose tackle. Then, of course, Taylor Stallworth, who's undrafted guy last year, came in and really stepped up and did some things. Then there's Kenny Bigelow Jr. You can throw him in the mix as well. So that's the interior defensive lineman and the defensive line period. Let's shift our attention toward the linebackers. Demario Davis is, to me, the best linebacker the Saints have. He is their top man. He never leaves the field, followed by Alex Anzalone. A.J. Klein is there. Then behind those guys, the really solid veteran Craig Robertson, defensive man Vince Beigel is there as well. Darnell Sankey is there, and then we also have Caden Ellis and Colton Jumper. Those are some of the linebackers that are on the team. As like I said, you can see the Saints probably might shift a few people. You got Caden Ellis, as I mentioned before, and this is pre-camp. Before, who knows, the Saints might bring somebody in at the first day of camp. Who knows? They are liable to do things like that. But as of it right now, this is what it is. Going to the defensive back situation, cornerbacks or Eli Apple and Marshawn Lattimore. Behind them is P-Rob. Patrick Robinson is the backup. He is the nickel cornerback behind. And then behind him is other cornerbacks such as, let's look at it. Well, you got Ken Crawley. Well, yeah, I don't know if I want to throw Ken Crawley in that mixture, but you got P-Rob. You also have Kevon Webster, who I have to put right behind Patrick Robinson because of what he brings, his veteran ability, 7-8 years in the league. And I think the fourth position, cornerback position behind Patrick Robinson, is perfect. So the Saints have 4 really quality cornerbacks, and then you get P.J. Williams. Then you get Ken Crawley before you walk it. Then you get Marcus Shrells. Then you get Christian Campbell and guys like that there. Justin Harden as well, too, to throw him in the mixture and not forget him. Safeties, Von Bell and Marcus Williams as it stands. A lot of people like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I really like the kid, too. He'll play some nickel in the 3 safety look. Love that guy. I think eventually he replaces Von Bell. But, I'm not this year, but looking at the future. You don't take 2 safeties back-to-back in a draft and don't look like, okay, it's Saquon Hampton and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, and looking at Von Bell saying, okay, should we pay him or not? Come on now. But anyway, we have Chris Banjo behind those guys, Ricky Jefferson, J.T. Gray, Saquon Hampton, and Terrell Williams. Those are the safeties and the rest of the defensive backs in the room for the defense. Going over to the special teams, the special teams that they are. We talk to Thomas Morstead, who's, in my opinion, a Hall of Famer. We got Will Lutz, who's the highest paid, one of the highest paid kickers, if not the highest paid kicker in the NFL. And some have brought to my attention that possibly in any NFL history. So the Saints really broke off Will Lutz. He's worth the money. Finally, the Saints solve the riddle of having a kicker for multiple years as opposed to pay musical chairs after the last several seasons. So it's really nice to get Will Lutz on a long-term deal, pair him with a guy like Morstead. Then, of course, is Zach Wood at the lone snapper position. Nick Moore comes in to provide the competition. And then and we have excellent play as far as that goes. Now, looking at the kick returner and punt returner situation, kick returner, punt returner is Marcus Shrells as is possibly lining up. And then, of course, in the kick return room, who do we have as a kick returner coming at you? That is something that we have to look at because the Saints have a multitude of different options at the kick returner position. There's Deontay Harris from up north's Assumption near New York. This guy is a guy that is actually who's broke NCAA records. Could he do it in the NFL is the big question. There's Cyril Grayson, who's the LSU track star. Could he help you in that situation? Do the Saints rely on Ted Ginn Jr. to help out in the kick return, punt return game? And also, I know it's just a little fodder for the conversation, but what if Darren Sproles? What about the story about Darren Sproles? A lot of people like to poo-poo the Darren Sproles story. That is also a wild card, whether you like it or not, or think that he is too old to contribute. That is a wild card story to make mention of because Darren Sproles did mention and list the Saints among 3 teams that he's looking to sign with. The Eagles, the Chargers are the other 2, but he has been, as of recently, you can see him on Twitter, trying out with guys like Drew Brees. You know, and my point on my show was when we was talking about this topic and where the smoke is fire is why would he be training with Drew Brees and not Phillip Rivers or Carson Wentz, or if Carson's hurt, maybe one of their representatives throwing them the football. Why the hell is it Drew Brees is what I'm asking. So at the end of the day, we have to consider the Darren Sproles angle, and from information that's being released, he is supposed to make his decision soon. So that could be something that can impact the Saints as well. So think about that too, where you're at, family. But anyway, let's look. That is pretty much the Saints' full roster as it breaks down with Sean Payton as the head coach, Pete Carmichael running the offense, Dennis Allen is your defensive coordinator, and special teams coach is Mr. Dan Rizzi, who comes over from the Miami Dolphins and was leading top 10 special team units for the Miami Dolphins, getting them kick return and punt return touchdowns. We covered it on the show. The last time the Saints got a kick return, or was it a punt return? I think it was a kick return. The last time we got a punt return for a touchdown was... No, I think it was kick return for a touchdown. Was 2 years ago when Alvin Kamara did it. But a punt return, or whatever, it's been the last time somebody did a punt return for us was Marcus Murphy. I think I looked up and did the research. Marcus Murphy family. You know who that is? But anyway, the issue is getting Dan Rizzi in here, and I got to give big credit to Sean Payton and the entire staff for doing these great clearing out the special teams room, bringing fresh talent in there, a coach that knows what the hell he's doing in special teams, giving them Will Lutz, giving them Morstead, giving them Taysom Hill, who will play special teams as well, giving them Justin Hardy, giving them Chris Banjo, giving them Vince Bidro, and all these other special team aces that we have, and a fantastic unit that we have, and then giving them weapons to kick return, punt return, to give the Saints short fields that can help the offense score with our impactful offense and helping the defense out as well. So all 3 aspects of the Saints team kicking in, helping out, offense looking good, defense squaring up looking good, special teams carrying its weight as well. And we have the auspices of what could be a Super Bowl year. The last couple of years, the Minnesota Miracle derailed us, the debacle in the dome, as I call it, with the foolishness with the referees and all that. But this year, it's a lot different than what it could have ever been when we have this very stout defense. Now, just stout unit, period. Now, before we leave, we have a few minutes left, family. I want to talk to y'all. Just hit a few interesting people here on the team. And like one of my key contributors, I think, coming into it, watching him in the minicamp, was Jared Cook. Cook looks good. He's long. He catches the ball well. I think this is absolutely stupendous to have a guy like Jared Cook in there. I love the Rashard Matthews signing. Absolutely love it. A lot of people not talking about it, but they will, trust me. That was a solid signing. This guy was made to play this offense. I love the Kevon Webster signing. Absolutely love it because it gives us a fourth experienced cornerback behind P-Rob if something happens. Keep P.J. Williams off the field and keep Ken Crawley before you walk off the field, please. But anyway, that'll do it for the show. Thank you guys for listening to the Sports Coma. If you aren't a subscriber, please feel free to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button, and the like button. Join the show. We are the #1 Independent Saints podcast, and you can catch our live stream on YouTube every Saturday at 12. So from me and the crew, thanks for listening. Peace.
If you haven't heard the Sports Coma, this is what you're missing. Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
I'm a Saints and Pelicans fan, so the only podcast I can get my fix is the Sports Coma with Big Q. The guys intense, funny, and they always keep it real.
Check out the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys.
Embrace Pet Insurance is more than just pet insurance. Embrace Pet Insurance promises to provide genuine support and certainty when your pet needed the most. With personalized accident and illness policies, compassionate customer care, 24/7 access to veterinary professionals, flexible wellness plans, timely claims processing, and online customer portals, their values is what makes them Embrace. So, when selecting a pet insurance company as a partner in your pet's care, you deserve a company that has your pet's best interests at heart. Get top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Up to 90% back on bills at any vet, total protection, pet insurance and wellness, and dependable claims payments. Get the top-rated and reviewed coverage for your pet today. Go to embracepetinsurance.com. That's embracepetinsurance.com. Check the link in the description section below.
Are you a boxing fan? Check out Ring Kings Boxing only on the PRO Media Network.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love, unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Hit the link below and rep the black and gold today. Who that? Do you need a domain name? How about a host for your website that can work with WordPress? Try Namecheap.com. They make registering, hosting, and managing domain names for yourself or others easy and affordable because the internet needs people. Namecheap is an ICANN accredited domain register and technology company founded in 2000. It's one of the fastest growing American companies according to the 2018 Inc. 5000. Celebrating nearly 2 decades of providing unparalleled levels of service, security, and support. Namecheap has been steadfast in customer satisfaction with over 10 million domains under management. Namecheap is among the top domain registers and web providers in the world. They offer a full selection of popular and unique domains along with fully featured hosting packages, SSL security certificates, WhoisGuard privacy protections, and more, all at the lowest prices in the industry. So if you need a domain name or hosting or anything else, think Namecheap.com. That's right, Namecheap.com. Check the description section below for link.